think I'm going to start because this just feels like a nice way for us to kick off, and then we can have some time to share after I kind of get to the quote unquote things I have prepared for us. So we're going to do some astrology. We're going to talk about the goddess, the Welsh Celtic goddess that's associated with this holiday in midsummer. And then we're going to do a really interesting astrological activation and meditation. So that's what's on slate. And then we can just see how we go. There will be a recording that I will get up as soon as my internet allows me to upload and get everything. So happy solstice. There is a fairy theme here, but I would like to start by saying the fae, the kingdom of the fae, is more than the winged creatures that we typically talk about. That could be other elemental creatures, dragons. I think of them as the loving spirits that exist in other higher dimensions that likely have gone underground when humanity started to mess up. But I think they're really excited to be here with us today. So with that, I'm going to start just with a little brief presentation about what's happening today. So this is called the Cancer solstice. And I just wanted to start off by saying, typically when I do a full moon podcast, I'll call it the name of the moon, wherever the moon is, I call it the moon, but this is a solar event because let's make sure we're all muted just so that there's no feedback. This is a solar event. So this is called the Cancer solstice because the sun over here, oh, I can't point and click. If you look at about 10 o'clock on the clock face, you'll see the sun at 0 degrees of Cancer. So the solstice always happens when the sun is at 0 degrees of Cancer. The sun is at 0 degrees. This is a pretty neat event. And we can think back to the times of our ancestors when they told time. There were two equal bodies in the sky that they used to tell time, the lunar cycles and the solar cycle. And I love that there's so many themes coming through here for the rebalancing of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So the luna could be the feminine energetic, the sun could be the masculine energetic. And so if we start off and look at what's one of the things that's kind of the most obvious in this chart, this is going to be at 9 o'clock on the clock face. You'll see 4 planets. I can't point and click. I'm sorry. They're all in Leo. It's called a stellium whenever there's more than 3 planets in a sign. A stellium sounds really important. It is it means focused energy, but a conjunction is much more kind of rare than a stellium. Stellium just means the planets are in the same sign. But that means we have a lot of Leo energy, which is perfect for what's happening. So I wanted to start by looking at what's going on. We have Luna at 8 degrees, Venus at 14 degrees, Black Moon Lilith at 18, and Mars at 18 degrees. They're all in the sign of Leo. So if you recall the astrology for the new moon that was just a little bit ago, and a part of the thing that came through was there was Venus and Mars not super conjunct. They're kind of in that same, they're together, but they're not super tight. They're 4 degrees apart. And Black Moon Lilith was right next to Mars at that point. And what came through was she was informing Mars, the divine masculine, as to what the divine feminine needed. So what's happening here is Lilith has moved away from Mars. She's now right next to at the same degree of Venus. So this kind of shows a progression of energetics, and we're going to see this play out with the astrology and with just all the lore that's about this day. But if we have, she's informed the divine masculine what the divine feminine needs, and now she's right there with Venus being like, go girl, it's time. So I think that's kind of an interesting message for us about what's the empowerments that are coming through at this time. So there's still this rebalancing, there's still this harmonizing of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. But if we look at this, so we have this stellium, this 4 planets right near the ascendant in Leo, they're squaring Jupiter. So and squaring of Jupiter, Jupiter being the planet of expansion, Jupiter's up closer to midnight, 12 o'clock on the clock face. It's in Taurus right here. So all of those are squaring Jupiter. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, I mentioned in the podcast, is going retrograde, which just means that we get to review and revise and move inward in order to expand outward. So the Luna, Mars, Venus, Black Moon, Lilith, all that energy is still helping us to, with squaring Jupiter there's a challenge there. Squaring is challenge, but challenge doesn't mean hard. It just means be aware of what comes through in your personal experience as to how you can really step into embodying the divine feminine, is what this chart is saying to me personally. That being said, astrology is like making soup. There's a lot of different ingredients that didn't mean different things to different people. We're going to get to a meditation today, because I've come to understand, just like the four directions, there always exist. The zodiac always exists, and we identify with different things, but it's almost like it's ubiquitous, and we get to see what those energies mean for us, and do with those energies what we feel called to do. So another thing in this chart, when we were just talking about the astrology, we have Neptune square the galactic center. So Neptune, and I didn't draw the line. Galactic center is down at about 4 o'clock on the clock face, and it is squaring Neptune, which is up at like 1 o'clock. But the action is Galactic Center is conjunct Varda. But Neptune, the planet, I also meant the planet of illusion and delusion. I think of that as moving into higher levels of consciousness, moving out of the illusion that the 3D world is all that there is. Squaring the galactic center, this is cool because this is another challenge that's going to come through for us. The galactic center, I understand it to be the central sun to our sun. If this is a solar celebration of the lightest or the darkest day of the year, in the north it's the lightest, in the south hemisphere it's the darkest. But if this is what that is, then of course the most central sun is going to be activating and showing up to tell us something. So we get a sense of what it's telling us by the fact that it's squaring Neptune. Squaring Neptune just means that it's supporting us in continuing to move beyond the illusion and delusion of this reality. And I love that this is a very elemental holiday. I'll get to that in a second, but I'll think about, if the galactic center is the central sun to our sun, in the Egyptian alchemy course, we talk about going to depth about how Sirius is a central sun to our sun. And Sirius has been used by many alchemists in the past to call energy. And Sirius is, the Egyptians used it. It's a super bright star. It's the one that gets the information from the galactic center and beams it to the sun. If there's a relay effect in refining the energetic communication so that by the time it gets to our sun is ready to give it to us in a manner that we can consume. So the galactic center is lighting up here during this holiday, during this celebration of the sun, to remind us that there's so much more to uncover and to discover. So with that, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and just move into the idea of the solstice, the idea of the midsummer. I had a Swedish friend who used to love, literally, she's 35 years old. They still go gather flowers in the field at midsummer. They still do all these things that we think of almost as, we're going to talk about the myth and the lore of the goddess that's associated with this holiday, the Celtic Welsh goddess Rhiannon. Rhiannon is the fairy goddess of the sun. You don't need to see her name. I think it's more important to see her photo. And and it's interesting because I'm going to go into her myth a little bit next. And I'm going to go into her myth with the caveat that this myth it was written, or the way that I have discovered it, it was in the time when, before the Greeks and the Romans were coming to take over the culture of the Welsh and the Celts, the earth loving people. You could call them pagans, but this was written at a time when things were about to get even darker. So it's interesting that the myth, so kind of take it as a caveat, but her myth is really about the beautiful harmony and balance between divine masculine and divine feminine. Before I get into that, I just want to also say that, that all the ancient cultures used the solstices and the equinoxes to determine the seasons. And the Celts believe that this was the season, this was the holiday to, even as a solar holiday, to honor the goddess. And, the Celtic, she's known in one sense as the Celtic fairy goddess of the sun. I'll get into her myth. She's so much more. But the Druid priests and priestesses would set fires on these days. It was a time for us to celebrate the fertile crops. It's not the harvest season, but it is one of the first of the celebrating and calling in the bounty that is to come. So let's talk about Rhiannon for a little bit. So she was the fairy princess. Her father was the king of the Fae, and she was known to be the ruler of the sun itself. Her job, which she loved, was to get on her horse before dark and pull the sun across the sky. And she did this. She loved what she did. She, as the myth goes, she loved spending time alone. She loved musing about making plans, and she was very, very good at magic. She was betrothed to a prince. At that time, it was common for women's families to betroth them to men. And she's mentioned in the story, I hope I said this right, the Mabinogion, the Welsh book that's kind of hard to read, maybe getting easier to read, but it's the collection of stories, literally, and she's one of the major characters in the stories. It's the stories of the ancient heroes of Britain, essentially. So here we have also she's a fae. She's not a human. She's kind of beyond the veil at this point. She learns of this prince. I think his name is Pulsh, Pwyll. I think you pronounce that Pulsh, but I don't seem to be the best person in pronunciating. But anyway, this prince is he became the prince of the kind of the living world, and she noticed him because he was becoming the prince of the other world. The other world was a place where Rhiannon was a member. So she was already betrothed to somebody. She goes and looks at this guy, and she falls in love with him, and she decides that she doesn't want to have to marry somebody that somebody else chose for her. So she decides to kind of go against her parents' will. Her parents, gave up a little bit, but they respected her decision. And so she, the way that we see her in this picture, which is where you often see her, she rode her horse in a gown that was full of gold and connected with the sun. And so he had just become the prince of both worlds, and he's sitting on top of this mound near his castle. The mound is known to either cause a lot of harm if you're not the right person, or to show you a magical realization if you are the right person. So she, when he sits on this mound, rides in front of him and his men, and they notice her. He thinks she's beautiful. He tells his guys to go off and figure out who she is. She's of the Fae, so she's of the other world. They can't catch her. She always stays just in front of her. The horses tire out. They come back day after day. This goes down. Finally, the prince, the king, goes and tries to catch her himself, and then he can't catch her. He calls out, "Wait," and she stops immediately and says something very empowered, like, "Why didn't you just ask me to stop a long time ago? You would have saved your horse some effort." Anyway, they fall in love. They're at the wedding. This guy walks in and asks for a blessing, and the prince is or the king is very happy. I'm sorry, says, whatever you want, and he ends up asking for Rhiannon. It's her former fiance. So then there's all that. So the interesting thing about the dance of divine masculine and divine feminine kind of is woven throughout this tale. So they work together to kind of outsmart this guy and get back to being married, and they are married. And kind of the nuances aren't that important, but he helps her co-create the magic that puts this person in the right place. They have to work together. They're realizing how important it is for them to work together in this story. She has a kid, and then the story, I'll kind of finish with this. She has a kid, and the baby's just being born. It was at the common time at that custom at that time for the woman to be surrounded by other women who were supporting her and this child as she's coming off of childbirth, and something comes and kidnaps the kid at night. The women don't want to be blamed. They're human people. They don't really trust this fairy queen. So they kill somebody's dog, smother her with blood and bones, and blame her for killing her own kid. Her husband believes her. The rest of the kingdom does not. She's kind of put off and put down in many ways. And then years pass. Finally, somebody who actually is the son comes back. They realize that the family had found this baby in the woods. It was likely the jealous fiance that kidnapped the kid. And the kid comes back to reclaim his right role. And she takes her space next to him in royalty, essentially. So it's interesting. I find that story, it's a little bit of a long-winded story, but I find the story interesting as we're talking about the balancing of divine masculine and divine feminine, and that this is her holiday. And it's kind of a story that isn't necessarily just sparkles everywhere. Like, she goes through some hard times, but she and her counterpart work together to get to where they need to be. And so if we think about the energetics that are within each of us, whether or not we're in a female or a male body, that we are going through these challenges. And one of the themes of that story was that she was the queen of the fairies. She was the magic maker. She was the one who came up with the spells, who came up with the ways to make things right. And she and her divine masculine counterpart work together. If we think about these as parts of our own selves, how can we embody the divine feminine and let the divine masculine within us? Divine masculine will be the part that's very grounded in the 3D world. How can we embody the magic more and lend support to this aspect of ourselves so that we can co-create with the fairy kingdom, with this goddess, the world that we want to see? So with that, we're going to get back to the astrology and get into, we're going to create a circle. We're going to create a circle in a little bit of a different way than I typically do it. Typically, we'll do a quarter casting. I hope that you guys can see this okay. This is a stained glass rendition of the 12 astrological houses. So even though we talk about the clock face, the way that this clock works is it starts at 9 o'clock and it goes counterclockwise back. So if we think about how we're gonna, so I would like to invite us to, well, let's do both. Well, let's call in the 4 directions after we call in the 12 houses. But to call in the 12 houses, we're going to go around this circle, and you're going to imagine, I invite you to imagine that kind of like a stained glass window, the light that filters through, when you look at the light, there's a certain quality of energetic light that is coming through with each of the signs. Each of the signs compose a necessary aspect of the entire picture of the zodiac, but the zodiac is just one tool. And if we consider what the 4 directions mean to traditional Chinese medicine, to what they mean to all the ancient cultures, they saw that within each of us are all the 4 directions, are all the elements. So within each of us, I would like to offer that there are all the 12 houses, all this energetic. So to start off today, to create this ritual, I would like to invite us to begin by closing our eyes, and I'm gonna lead us through calling in the 12 houses. So you can close your eyes, you can look at this image if you'd like. And we're just going to take a couple centering breaths. Breathe in through your nose and release through your mouth. And just notice how you're feeling right now on this day, at this moment. And consider yourself as a powerful antenna, conscious being, creator. And we're going to connect with these aspects of the zodiac that carry their own intelligence. We're going to begin with the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, the ram. Aries is cardinal masculine fire ruled by Mars. It's an extroverted sign. And as you connect with the energy of Aries, feel its confidence, feel its courage, feel its positive, active nature. And just by connecting with it, invite it to come to our circle, invite it to come to our gathering, this energy of Aries. And as you invite the energy of Aries, you can consider, even if you have no Aries in your chart, that we're all part of the whole and reflections of the whole, that some part of you is an embodiment or is connected to the energy of Aries. So you're calling it in right now. We're calling it in. And just invite the energy of Aries to come here with us now. And then we're going to go next, counterclockwise, to the energy of Taurus, the bull. Taurus, fixed feminine earth, ruled by Venus, introverted energy. Taurus has this sort of steadfastness about it. It's patient, it's reliable, it's down to earth, it's connected to the earth. So maybe you inherently understand Taurus, maybe you explore it, whatever your relationship is with it. I invite you to consider it as a part of yourself and to call it into you and to call it into the circle. Notice what that energy feels like. And we'll move next to Gemini. This is down at about 7 o'clock on the clock face. Gemini, the twins. So the light of each of these is coming through the stained glass window as if it's an energetic filter. Gemini, mutable masculine air, ruled by Mercury. Extroverted sign. Gemini is an adaptable, dexterous, versatile, curious, full of ideas sign. Invite its energy. Notice how it feels to you today. Feel it within you and feel it in this gathering as it comes. All we need to do is to seek to connect to these things. Our consciousness creates the circle, essentially. And we'll keep going down to about 6 o'clock. The sign of the crab, Cancer. Cancer, cardinal feminine water, ruled by the moon. Introverted energy. Invited to come. Sensitive, secretive, a little bit reclusive, but also intuitive, protective. Invite the energy to come within you and feel it. Invite it to come to our gathering. Notice how that energetic feels if there's a subtle shift. We'll move next now to Leo. Fixed masculine fire, ruled by the sun, extroverted. Invite that energy to come. The lion, so regal, noble, dignified, proud, self-confident, high standards, committed. Leo is a leader. Feel that energy within you. Invite it to come to this circle. And notice how that energetically, physically, psychologically, emotionally feels. I'll move now to Virgo, the virgin. In this stained glass window, it's a unicorn. Mutable feminine earth, ruled by Mercury, introverted energy. Virgo is meticulous, likes perfection, high standards for self and others, enjoys doing the right thing. Very practical, but very meticulous. Invite that energy into you, invite that energy into this space right now, and notice how it feels. Moving on next to about 3 o'clock on the clock face, Libra, the scales. Cardinal masculine air, also ruled by Venus, extroverted sign. Cosmic diplomat, divine cosmic justice. Balance and harmony is what Libra is all about. Libra is kind of a supreme arbiter. It knows when to be silent and when to speak, and is able to be patient, but also able to take action. Invite this energy into you, invite this energy into our circle. Continuing counterclockwise, we'll go up to about 2 o'clock on the clock face, the sign of the Scorpion, Scorpio, fixed feminine water, ruled by Pluto. Invite that energy to come. Notice how it feels. It's introverted energy, secretive, passionate. What's beneath the surface? Where's the buried treasure? What needs to be discovered? Invite this energy. Regardless of how familiar you are with it in your chart, consider it as an aspect of you and a universal aspect of everything. Invite it to our gathering. Continuing on, counterclockwise, Sagittarius, the archer, mutable, masculine fire, extroverted. Invite this enthusiastic, exploratory, freedom-loving, always inquisitive, intuitive, outlandish energy of Sag. However familiar you are, you aren't with it in your chart, consider it as an aspect of yourself, welcome it, invite it to our gathering. Notice how it feels. And then right up at 12 o'clock on the clock face, we have Capricorn, the goat, the sea goat, actually. Cardinal feminine earth, ruled by Saturn, introverted. The goat is sure-footed. It climbs those challenging hills with confidence. It's self-disciplined. It likes long-term goals. It doesn't mind long, hard work. It's got a big, long vision. Invite that energy into you. Invite that energy into this gathering. Welcome it, feel it, notice it. Moving on now to about 11 o'clock on the clock face, Aquarius, the water bearer. Fixed masculine air ruled by Uranus. Notice how that feels. Extroverted energy, freedom of expression, fighting for the cause, slightly radical, but fighting for those cosmic justice type causes. Outlandish, but because it's a sign of our future. Feel into it, invite it into you and into this circle. And notice, feel it come. And the last sign of the zodiac, Pisces, the fish, mutable feminine water, ruled by Neptune, introverted. Invite it to come, feel its sensitivity, feel its sort of understanding of it's always wanting to help others. It intuitively knows what everybody, including itself, needs, and it's quick to move. And it's about the bigger picture, oneness, peace, harmony. It also has a utopian, it wants this big, bright future that we're co-creating. And it's as if we've been through all the other 12 signs, and this is the sign that's got this sensitivity about it, but it's gleaned all the wisdom of all the other 12 signs. And here we are inviting Pisces to come to be with us now in this circle. So then closing the circle, returning back to Aries, feel all these energetics within you, feel all these energetics within our circle. And we'll continue to create space as we typically do by creating a circle, casting a circle. So you can stay where you're at. You can turn to face. Where if you're in the northern hemisphere, we're going to address the direction of the east where the sun rises. Imagine even in the etheric that you're turning to face where the sun rises. Invite the direction of the east, the element air, the color golden yellow, the Archangel Michael, to come to this gathering, to come to be with you. And notice how all you have to do, just like with the signs connecting to these energies, they are here. Feel them as part of you, feel them as part of this gathering. Now we're going to move clockwise. We're going to move to the south. Fire. Invite the direction of the south, the element of fire. Archangel Michael, I misspoke. Raphael was air. Invite them both. Feel the energies coming within you into this gathering. And then moving clockwise now to the west, sunset. Invite the direction of the west, the element water, the color blue, the Archangel Gabriel. Feel all that energy come within you. Feel it come into this circle. Moving clockwise again to the north. The north is element earth, Archangel Uriel, trifold color, black, sort of burnt umber orange and olive green. Invite all that energy to come within you, to come to this gathering. And completing the circle, returning to address the direction of the east. Maybe you say to yourself, and so it is, all these energies are here with us for this gathering. And we're going to move next to a meditation to connect with the fairy world, the fae. So we're in circle. Our eyes are already closed. Take a deep breath right now. Hold it for a comfortable moment and then release it through your mouth. Once again, take a deep breath. Hold it for maybe a little bit longer, calling more of yourself right here, right now. And then whenever you're ready, you can release it. So relaxing all the muscles in your body, if they aren't already relaxed, from the top of the head, down through the face, down through the arms, down through the belly and the hips and the legs. Take another deep breath in through your nose. Hold it for as long as you'd like and release it through your mouth. And see if you can connect to your third eye, to see things that you've already seen, to experience things that you already know, to potentially experience something new. Just set the intention to see with your own vision, astral vision, inner vision. Maybe it's energetic vision. Maybe it's your imagination. And then take another deep breath in through your nose and release it through your mouth. So the idea with all that we've done so far and what is to come is all of this is common to us. It's all connected, but all of this is unique to each of us. Our own astrological chart is unique to each of us. Our own understandings of all those energies and the nuances are already unique, but we all have some aspect of all of this, including our connection to the Fae within us. So now imagine, bring yourself somewhere outdoors. And I invite you to bring yourself somewhere into the northern hemisphere where this is the lightest day of the year. And imagine you're outside first at dawn when the light is just coming up over the horizon. You're facing the direction of the east and you're starting to see the sky light up. Maybe there's clouds on the horizon. Maybe they turn beautiful magenta pink, coupled with that light bright blue of the dawn. Maybe the clouds light up golden. Greet that light. And watch the magical golden threads of the sun just slip through the clouds. And this light of the sun is illuminating what stands behind you towards the west, a garden, a vast, beautiful, verdant place. So when you're ready, turn yourself to face that garden. And take another breath in through your nose as you breathe in. See if you can smell the verdant green. Maybe there's flowers in the air. Fill your head with the aroma of just the most living, beautiful smells. Exhale and just take in the dark green leaves. Maybe there's ferns. Maybe there's other kind of plant life, the trees. And you're moving through this garden that is unique to you and connected to everyone. There's so much life. There's so much green. You can be in whatever kind of garden you would like to be in. Notice what kind of garden you're in. Maybe there's natural earthen steps. Maybe there's stones. As you're walking, there's this sort of path that's lighting up in front of you. And as you're walking through this garden, you can feel how old it is, how the trees that are further beyond have been around for so long. Maybe the mosses have been there for thousands of years. There's just this sense of timelessness. You're moving back in time and beyond time as you continue to walk. And now the trees come into view. Notice what kind of trees they are. Maybe they're majestic oaks or noble firs or simmering birches. Take in the energy of the trees. And maybe you even reach out to touch the bark of one of the giant trees to really connect with it. And there you are at the base of one of these majestic trees, and you're looking up for the top of the tree, and it's so tall, you can't even see it, but you know it's there. And then continue into the forest and notice how your steps get a little lighter as you're going into the forest. It's as if you're kind of yourself moving back in time to when you were a young child and believed in this kingdom and came in knowing it was real. So you're still your adult self, but there's this lightheartedness that's coming very familiarly to you as you're walking deeper into this forest, deeper into this verdant space. Maybe there's a sound of a stream or a trickle of a stream. Off in the distance, you might hear a raptor like a hawk in the northern hemisphere, or an eagle, or maybe you hear a raven or a bluebird. Notice what you hear. The birds calling out to each other, the rustling of the leaves, if there's any water around. And it's as if there's so much here to take in. You're just looking around and it's so big and it's so beautiful. And you've never felt more connected to this natural world than you have now. And on the ground, you notice there's acorns of sorts, maybe some tiny little shiny pebbles. Maybe there's a flower or two that you feel called to pick. You can put it in a basket. You can keep it in your hands. Only pick what feels like it's beckoning you to pick it up. Still moving, sort of intuitively, almost softly dancing through this space. And it continues to just give way. The path continues to light up. And it's if you know you're right where you need to be. And as you're looking around, you start to see these twinkles, these shadows, and you're wondering what you're not seeing. But you feel so safe. The sunlight continues to beam down through the trees. It streams in, just sort of bathing the blossoms that are on the ground. And suddenly you're coming through this forest and you're coming into an open meadow. It's in the shape of a circle. The trees have created this ceremonial space, and you're feeling like you're just being called right into the center of that meadow. So go into the center of that meadow. Feel the lush green grasses just sort of waving in the breezes. And as you come into the center of this meadow, you notice whatever you have in your basket, whatever you have in your hands, you've sort of beyond yourself intuitively collected some gifts, some offerings for the Fae. And come right into the center of that meadow. Maybe there's a little clearing for you to sit. You sit, you lie. This is a place where the worlds will merge, a place where the forest ends and this meadow begins. And so you set your offering down, whatever it is that you've collected, you set it down in front of you. Closing your eyes now, feel the breeze on your skin. As if you feel when you're coming into this meadow, the fairies are coming to sort of softly connect with you through your third eye. Well, notice what you see now. Notice what you feel. Notice what you hear. Maybe you can even hear laughter in the distance. And maybe you can start to see them coming out from their hiding places, whether they're fairies or gnomes or dragons or other beings. Maybe they're sparkles of light. Maybe it's just this sense of this hum, this beautiful charge of joy and peace and love. And feel it as they come to connect with you. Maybe it's just waves of energy. Maybe it's waves of energy, as if the waves of the air are riding on the grasses. They're coming to be with you on this day. And they sense how much you are willing and ready to connect with them. And just allow yourself to sit and commune and receive. And also to be of service. Open your heart. And maybe even just sort of fragments of ancient knowledge start to come to mind. This way of being with the land, this way of being with the goddess, the natural harmony of all that is. And maybe even just deep down inside in your heart or in your core, there's just this sense of peace or love. Or maybe it's just the beauty of nature. The Fae tend to have this just ambivalent energy around them. So allow them to just, as if they're enveloping you, they're dancing around you, as if they're wrapping your soul in this magical blanket of joy or whatever you need right now. And feel the energetic sensation. Excuse me, it's like it's tingling. Your hands are tingling, your body's humming. And we're going to sit here for just a moment longer. This will be recorded. You can stay here for as long as you'd like, actually. And they've received your gifts. So when you open your eyes back up in the meadow, you can see these twinkles and these, as if beyond the veil, you can see them. And they're saying thank you. And from your heart, send your own pulse of gratitude love, joy, peace, whatever it was that they shared with you, send it back. And you feel when you're ready, it's time to pick yourself up out of that meadow and start to walk back. You look back lovingly to that space where you were able to connect, and notice how they're reminding you that this is something that is eternal. You can come here whenever you want, whenever you need. And you're taking this energetic knowledge, whatever you've seen with your third eye, whatever you felt emotionally, energetically, you're taking it back and you're just going to walk back, move back, float back through that verdant landscape. And notice how it almost feels like it's encapsulated in your heart. Like those old friends that you just met have always been your old friends. And coming back out of that forest, back to wherever you're seated, back into the room where you're at, back into your body, back maybe moving your fingers and moving your toes. Back to this space where we've called in the directions and we've called in the signs, the energies of the zodiac. So now, as we are still in circle, you can choose to thank all those energies and call them off. You can choose to invite them to remain with you for as long as you'd like. The important part is that there's an acknowledgement at the end of the ceremony. And the acknowledgement can be thank you very much, and so it is. Go your way. If you feel the acknowledgement can be thank you very much, of your own wisdom, you can stay with me for as long as you'd like, and this circle can stay for as long as is needed. I like the latter personally. That's kind of my own non-linear, nuanced version of calling in circle. And with that, we're just going to slowly sort of prepare to come back to our gathering. Back to this time we have together. And I would like to thank you guys for joining me today on that journey, this offering. I don't know if anybody has anything they'd like to share. You are welcome to share. If you're so deep in meditation, you're still in that magical field. I don't want to pull you out of that if you don't want to come. But if anybody has anything they want to share, I feel personally that just that welling of the energy, it's as if the light, you can feel the celebration just beyond this physical world. It feels like there's a celebration happening. Anybody else has anything they want to share? Now would be the time. No is also okay. Unmute yourself and just do it.
I imagined that I don't know, at the end I imagined I was in a gown with all the signs around me at the hem.
Ooh.
Sounds like a good dress to make.
I was gonna say that sounds like a really good idea. That's neat. That's like they're always surrounding you all the time. I like that image. Thank you for sharing. That's perfect. Anybody else? Well, thank you all for being here. I feel blessed and honored by everyone being here together today. And, 1 + 1 = 5, as I like to say. The energies are exponential. So the more the merrier, the more the better. But I just feel like the amount of people that are here today in circle, I feel so blessed to be with you all. So thank you. One more, if anybody has one more thing they'd like to say, I'm going to probably, you can put it in the comments if you want to unmute yourself. Now would be the time. Katie says, thank you. You're welcome, Katie.
Thank you very much, Lisa. That was lovely. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Rima. Thank you for being here with us. It's good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa.
Oh, thank you, Eve. Good to see you.
Just
Happy
you.
solstice.
Happy solstice.
Rasa says thank you. You're welcome. I'm going to say thank you to the fairies and the trees. Because I think and the zodiac and the directions, I think they were the ones that pretty much made that magic happen for us. So
Lisa, can I just ask, what was the name of that? You said there was a Welsh, the Mabin something. What's like a
Mabinogion.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
that book that is hard to read. I think you say it that way. I can
Okay.
put it. I can find a spelling of it really quickly and put it in the chat. Hold on a second.
That'd be cool. I'd like to just maybe look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. The Mabinogion, I'll put it in the chat right now. So they talk about Rhiannon, they talk about Eve Hester. I think, did I put it in the chat? No, I sent it to Eve. I need to see it, everyone. Hold on a second. Sorry, guys.
Oh, thanks, Lisa.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
That's how you spell it, I believe. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. May that be a good exploration for you. And everybody, bright blessings, tons of love. I'm so grateful for you. Let's go enjoy what we carry within our hearts right now. I'm so thrilled. Tons of love.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.